Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Voice of the Eagle, kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay atin sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng eskwela. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, Katipunero sugo, todo sa kayod, punong at tulong. Lipad na Blue Eagle, galing giting at tigil, blue and white, one big fight. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan.
Radyo Katipunan.
Christmas to me is always a promise of hope, joy, and love. Together with the Jesuit Communications and Arete of the Ateneo de Manila University, I wish to invite you to celebrate Christmas with us in a very special concert entitled The Third Noel, Light Up the World, spreading hope in solidarity with all the nations. The show will be streamed on December 11, 7:30 in the evening on the Facebook pages of the Jesuit Communications, Radio Katipunan, Arete, and other social media partners. May the light of Christmas spirit shine forth from within our hearts.
Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. The voice of the Blue Eagle, kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay atin sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng eskwela. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, Katipunero sugo, todo sa kayod, punong at tulong. Lipad na Blue Eagle, galing giting at tigil, blue and white, one big fight. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, radyo, Katipunan.
Cut! Good take! Want to hear our take on all your favorite filmy things? Tune in to Clapback, the radio show for film critics, production news, pop culture, and social commentary, serving as a place for our voice in our cinematic universe. Hosted by the Loyola Film Circle, Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Only here on Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM. Action!
Hello everyone and good afternoon. And I am Austin. Some people say I'm chill, just here to keep it real and serve you your daily movie fill.
And this is Clapback. So today,
Hey,
before we
guys.
start, we'd like to share that we are now on Twitter via Periscope on the Radyo Katipunan Twitter page. So please, if you can, check us out there. This is new, Sonye. Very exciting. So
Yep.
anyway, Austin, what have you been watching?
Season 4 just came out of My Hero Academia on Netflix, so I've just been neck deep just catching up with My Hero Academia. Such a great thing.
What's that?
It's an anime about superheroes, and it's just really great. Like it's a Japanese anime, and they really I'd say they push the boundaries on what superpowers can be and like how people use them. So I'd say it's really great and worth a watch. But how about you? What have you been watching lately?
Okay, so first I watched Princess Switched again because, the past 2 weeks have been pretty stressful. So this was like a really good way to unwind. Like, actually, props to Vanessa Hudgens because she played 3 different characters and she played the 3 of them so differently. Like, it was really convincing that they were 3 different people who looked the same and not one person. So, yeah, props to her. And it's a nice, feel-good Christmas movie. So,
It's like your comfort film this year,
comfort film this month.
this month.
This
Okay.
month. And then, still on the topic of princesses and royalty, I just finished watching The Crown. And it was really interesting to see how they incorporated Princess Diana into the story, like how they're in that part of the royal timeline. So I won't say anything much about it yet since a lot of people haven't seen it yet, but
Aye.
it's really worth the watch.
I
Like,
heard
I
there was
enjoyed it.
mention about Imelda Marcos or something in the show.
Yeah, actually, they kept on making jokes about her throughout the show. Elena Bonham Carter's character actually kept on bringing her up, even brought up the shoe collection because I think she had visited the Philippines at the time, and that's where it all came from.
The infamous shoe collection.
Of course.
Yo, would you say it's too soon for a recast? Because I hear every few years they always recast just to keep up with the aging royals.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I know that the showrunners had this plan of doing 6 seasons and giving each set of actors 2 seasons each to keep up with the passage of time. So I guess following their vision for it, it makes sense. Now's about the time to recast. But if you ask me, like, looking at the cast now, I don't think much time will pass between season 4 and season 5 in the show's timeline. So, like, it could easily be fixed with makeup, especially for the people playing Prince Charles and Lady Diana. Like, they don't age that far for the next season. So, I wouldn't recast, but of course, it's their vision. So, that's what they have for it.
That's true. Well, in other news, I hear about the Manila Film Festival being screened here for the first time online. Yeah, that's kind of wild.
Exactly. I mean, we're so used to like seeing cinemas at Christmas time filled with the Manila Film Festival, local movies. But, it's nice that this year people across the world will be able to see these movies. They
For
won't
sure.
need to visit a cinema for it. And by the looks of things, it's going to be a very different year. Like looking at the topics and genres alone, it's a bit of a different approach from what we usually have. Like now there's a biopic, less
There-
rom-coms.
There's some horror. I mean, I think we've always had horror, but I think it's good that there's always new amount of horror because you know me, I'm a horror fan.
Horror on Christmas, I don't understand. And
Nope.
perhaps I
No,
never will.
it's not a Halloween thing. Horror is just always good, always. And we also have a lot of family dramas coming in. Like I think Coming Home, or was this Isa Pang Bahaghari is another family drama coming in. Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be something for everyone. Now, on the other side of the world, Deadpool 3 is now in production. So it's finally moved to Marvel Studios after the purchase of 20th Century Fox. So it's likely to be the first R-rated movie for the MCU, but I'm pretty sure adjustments are going to be made given that this will be on Disney Plus and that Disney owns it now. And Ryan Reynolds himself said they're going in a completely different direction. So we're just going to have to see.
Yeah, I heard they're gonna be written by the writers of Bob's Burgers, so that seems really interesting.
Oh, all right. So it's going to be a different script.
Yeah.
And also, it's a good way for Marvel to start segueing to the X-Men. Maybe not in phase 4, but the future phases. I'm sure they're
Yeah.
going to do it slowly.
Yeah, I heard Kevin Feige wants to take his time. making us forget a lot of the Fox X-Men universe before like they start doing their take on the X-Men universe.
That's right.
But more on the MCU, Black Panther 2 starts production in July 2021. And I think they're gonna make Shuri take over the mantle instead of, Chadwick Boseman, because sadly he passed away. But I really find that, I'm a bit conflicted about this because the executive producer, or one of them, Victoria Alonso, said that they're not going to be using a CGI double for Chadwick Boseman. And I'm out of respect, which I totally get, but at the same time, for the sake of the story, it's kind of weird if he played such a big role in the first Black Panther and in Infinity War and Endgame just for him to just completely be out of the second movie. Like, I don't know how they're gonna make that work in a good way. So I'm a bit scared for that.
It's going to be a big challenge regardless, especially because no one could see this coming. But I do agree with the fact that they don't want to use a CGI double, because I think whatever happens, whatever adjustments they need to make, they could do it through dialogue, or it's Marvel. They will find a creative way to be able to continue the story. So I trust that Shuri taking over the mantle is actually going to be the best idea, especially because it does happen in the comics. It's just that they really had to speed it up for this. Now, how they speed it up and how they write off T'Challa is what I want to see, and what I'm also pretty nervous about. But of course, the MCU has been known for its wonderful storytelling, and I'm sure they'll figure out a way to do it.
I mean, I'm not sure, like, remember in Iron Man 2, they just kind of brought in Don Cheadle and he's like, yup, I'm here. That's it. I mean, are they going to do that in Black Panther 2?
But okay, that's a completely different case, because like Don Cheadle replaced the original actor for War Machine, right? Like,
yeah.
it was a replacement of actors, not characters. The character storyline stayed, but the actors didn't. So in a sense, that was way easier to adjust, because it's the same character, it's the same person, same dialogue, same storyline.
I was talking about what if they just did that same thing where they just brought in a new actor to play T'Challa and just be like, no, T'Challa is still alive and he's still here. It's just another actor.
Well, actually, possibility, but at the same time, I think it's also out of respect to Chadwick Boseman that they wouldn't want to do a recast. Also, because like, can you imagine anyone else in the role?
That's true. It's pretty hard. He did a really good job of embodying T'Challa.
Exactly. So before we move on, I just wanted to say hi to Ken, my theater classmate. I see you in the comments. Thank you for joining the conversation. So anyway, now we move on to DC. Wonder Woman 1984 will be premiering in theaters in international markets on December 16. So I'm assuming that's countries where theaters are open. And it will be released on both HBO Max and US cinemas on December 25, Christmas Day. So I think it's a really interesting choice for them to be releasing the movie on two different platforms at the same time in one country. Like, that's not usually done. They usually choose to release it online or in theaters, even during the pandemic. So, like, I wonder what prompted them to make this decision.
I think maybe given like how America's been treating this virus, there are a lot of them who still just aren't afraid to just go to the movie house. Maybe that's why they're releasing it in the theater that time. But even in like international markets, sadly, we're not one of those markets, so we're not gonna be able to see Wonder Woman. But I think I kind of see their logic. I mean, like those who can't watch it in the cinema have HBO Max and or have HBO Max to look to watch it, and then those who don't have HBO Max will probably have to go to the cinema. And I'm pretty sure the cinemas in the States, they're trying to keep up to certain like
safety standards.
Yeah, hygiene standards. I'm pretty sure they're trying to be as strict as they can with those.
Yeah, and it's actually good that they gave the audience options. It's just the first time we're seeing it done, so maybe this will pave the way for more releases. Black Widow, maybe, I don't know.
Ooh, let's hope so. But I heard Stranger Things 4 just released their casting, and I heard Robert Englund, who plays Freddy Krueger, is gonna be a recurring character in the new season. And like, you know, with the whole 80s vibe that they got going on, it seems pretty dope that they're bringing back Freddy Krueger as a recurring character.
it fits. Like the minute I saw like actor Freddy Krueger cast in Stranger Things 4, when I saw it, I was like, wow, I didn't think of that, but that's such a good fit, and it makes so much sense to have a really popular and influential horror icon on Stranger Things, which a lot of people are watching now. So I'm excited to see what they do, like what character they give him.
Oh yeah, I heard he's going to be some disturbed man in a psychiatric hospital or something like that. So I'm actually like really excited. I haven't seen Freddie England in anything since I guess Nightmare on Elm Street. So I'm excited to see what he does. I also heard actually if to people who like Game of Thrones, the faceless man is also gonna be there. And also Jamie Campbell Bower, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, from Twilight, he was one of the Volturi. Mortal Instruments, he was Jace. And even Harry Potter, he was the young Grindelwald.
Oh yeah, and that like short like flashback.
Yeah, that 5 seconds of Grindelwald.
Yo, justice for Johnny. Hashtag justice for Johnny.
Here we go again.
Hey, come on, you know he's right. You know he's
Yes,
right.
yes. So anyway,
I really do hope we see him in the third movie though.
you know, it's highly unlikely that we'll be seeing him come back because even he already agreed with the situation. So I think a recast is really in the works, which is kind of sad. But I know that it's not the last we'll see of Johnny Depp. We definitely will see more movies for him.
Hope so.
So anyway, that wraps up our current movie events. Hoping for more as Christmas draws near. We'll be hearing more about Christmas movies and hopefully seeing more releases. So now it's time for our interview of the day. So joining us today is Mr. Bobby Bonifacio Jr., director of the well-received movies Hospicio and Hellcome Home, among others, who just released his newest movie, which he directed and wrote, called My Lockdown Romance. So everyone, please join me in giving a hand to direct Bobby Bonifacio Jr. Welcome.
Hi, Maxine. Hi, Austin.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Good, good. Thank you for having me today.
So what have you been doing during this like past quarantine?
Well, actually, lately, I've been able to visit some friends and family already, safely, of course. But,
Nice.
but like the past quarantine, like, syempre, lahat tayo, we're all just at home, right? Staying indoors and, of course, watching Netflix and movies when I can, and
Of course.
mostly
Any notable movies?
well, actually, the last one I binged was Ratchet.
Oh, what's that about?
Ratchet in Netflix. Actually, it's supposed to be medyo twisted yung series, but it's supposed to be about a prequel about Nurse Ratched from I don't know if you've seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest before, the
Is he the bad nurse?
classic movie. Yeah, she's a nurse. Yeah, she's a nurse. She's a bad nurse there.
Yeah.
And so it's supposed to be a sequel starring focusing on the story of this nurse.
Oh, is that after they? Because I remember that's a Jack Nicholson movie where he goes crazy, right?
Yes. But it's supposed to be a prequel, and it's an entire series.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. So
That
you
seems
should
really
check it out.
interesting.
Yeah. And yeah, we've got one of our Filipino theater actors there as one of the anti-heroes there. Yeah.
Oh.
All right, so we know another thing that you did this quarantine was make the movie My Lockdown Romance, which a lot of people, including us, have been enjoying. So tell us, how was your experience of filming on Zoom? Like, what were the challenges and what were the things that surprised you about filming on Zoom?
Nice. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you guys for watching the movie and enjoying. The experience, it's pretty interesting because we wanted to do a movie like with the actors in their own homes and us in our own homes, but producing it through Zoom, right? And it was challenging, but there were some advantages at the same time because so the challenge was, of course, the actors, we weren't physically together and we had to send out all the equipment. and guide them via Zoom, but we made sure that we gave them equipment that's should I say dummy proof like it's impossible na magkamali ka ganyan, and kung magkamali ka man, it's easy to correct with our guidance, or director of photography's guidance, si Paul Ignacio, who's also an alumni of Ateneo din, no? And the exciting part about it is there's a certain fulfillment na parang suddenly you realize, okay, it feels like everyone's contributing, it feels like everyone's all together, and then you realize, oh shit, oh sorry, mag-isa na pala ako sa mag-isa na pala ako sa kwarto ko, wala pa akong kasama, and then you realize at the end of the day you've finished certain scenes and you put it all together, you have a movie.
Well, given that the pandemic did come as like a shock, like how were you guys able to? How long did it take you to put this whole thing together, have a story and everything?
The thing is, I've long wanted to well, it started like my producer called me and asked, "Do you have a story to pitch? Let's make a movie. Let's make a movie during the pandemic. Let's make a movie." That was around April. Start pa lang yun, di ba?
Yes.
Start pa lang ng quarantine yun. And I said, okay. And I was actually they've been used to me doing horror movies, right? Like I've done Hospicio, I've done Hellcome Home. I guess they were expecting that I would submit a lockdown horror story. but then I was thinking, so okay, I wanna do a horror story this time around, because like what's happening around us is horror in itself already.
It's scary enough, much.
It's scary, it's
Too much.
scary enough, right? So I just wanna have something light or something inspiring. So I decided to write it. The writing process took me 2 weeks, around 2 weeks, and I came up with a script, like around 103 pages of a script.
Wow, that's really fast actually.
Yeah, it
2
is.
weeks for 100-page script.
But yeah, I guess it was inspiration during that time, and also lockdown blues, right? You're just at home
Of
and yeah.
course.
So luckily when we submitted it, it got the green light. It was supposed to be a short film, but then we just couldn't compress it into something shorter than an hour and a half. So eventually it was approved to be released as a feature film.
Worth it actually, because like there were a lot of quarantine struggles in the movie that wouldn't have fit in a short film, like the times where their Wi-Fi would lag out and it would cause like miscommunications, hearing the wrong thing. That was so like that was something,
relatable.
yeah, that was so relatable. I mean, in class alone, when you hear something and then it's wrong and then you're just like, oh no, and then it causes all of these things, just like in the movie. It chain reacted a lot of events. So you were saying a lot of things have been inspiring you and inspired you to write the 100-page script. So what exactly inspired you to write this particular story? Especially because we know that we usually see horror from you.
Right. But for this particular story, well, of course the instances were about the lockdown, right? Like
Of course.
a lot of instances there personally happened to me, where you get you get some bad experiences from online sellers and stuff like that.
Like
Yes.
what actual instances? Do you have any like stories?
Actual instance. Well, so one actual instance was like ordering vegetables, and the delivery comes to you all bad, and you can't even contact the seller to complain. So things like that, and then friends contacting you out of the blue, and just asking how you are, and so those things happened, and like in spite of that, like I didn't really personally have my own lockdown romance. I didn't have my own lockdown romance during quarantine, but instances of the main character were, well, should I say were actually inspired from my own personal moments as well with other people.
Actually, speaking of that online deliveries thing, one thing that also hit me from the movie was how, like, a lot of the ways they were interacting were through sending each other their groceries, sending each other food. Because, like, earlier in quarantine, that's how my friends and I were also communicating, by dropping off food at each other's houses and just waving hello from a social distance. So, like, the movie really perfectly encapsulated the first part of quarantine when
Or
everything was
yeah,
like that.
and everything was about barter. Everything was like suddenly
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
about each other. Yeah.
Right? Like,
So
Ateneo Trade was alive. Shopee's 11/11 sales were like doing better than ever. That was really like the first part of quarantine, and I think it still continues today.
yeah, yeah. Like and even like those little things, like even the online workouts where like you used to go to the gym and now you're forced to just go to YouTube and work out with your buddies online. so
Yes.
so those little things that we captured in the movie, and good thing there were predecessor movies like in that format. There were actually also some local movies that were written at the same time but released earlier than us that actually had that same enjoyable format, right? But at the same time, we got inspiration from movies that came along before from Hollywood, I guess, should I say? Like, but those were like horror movies and suspense movies. I don't know if you're familiar with Searching and Unfriended. Those were like webcam movies.
Oh
yeah.
yes. Yes,
Yeah.
we've seen them.
So it helped me actually research on their process as well, so that we could pull off this movie the way they did it. And actually, those were some of my favorite movies. Like wow, they pulled it off just through video, just through a webcam format. And and having watched that, I kept on thinking like, if they can do that for a suspense style of movie, maybe I can do that for a romance or for a drama, and still come off successful. And we're pretty happy with the outcome.
Yes.
So when you made it in April or May, were you thinking about making it a BL movie initially, or did it just end up that way?
Yes, yes. We actually it's intended to be a movie about two guys, a love story between two guys, and initially since last year after my movie Hellcome Home, when I sat together with my producer was asking me what material do you want to do next, and I said okay, maybe I want to rest a bit from horror in my next project. Maybe I want to do a love story, but I want to do an LGBT themed love story. And he said, okay, maybe you can try it. and, and come that time when he was soliciting for pitches, so I actually realized that okay, maybe it's time to maybe it's actually about time to come up and pitch this idea. Well, also because during that time people were already pretty confident producing BL movies because of the success of this Thai BL series in the Philippines during that time, which was the title is Together, and it became successful, and then people were starting to play around with the idea of producing these types of this genre, and so I decided to also pitch my story.
Yes, and I think you're right. It came at the right time because, like, right now, especially, everyone is looking for things that'll make them happy, lighthearted things that will just take us away from the horrors of the world for even just a little bit. So I think it's a good time. So also to everyone watching, if you have questions for Direct Bobby, if you have anything you want us to talk about or discuss from the movie, please let us know in the comments, and we'll get to them as soon as possible. So actually, Direct, this movie showed us working on Isape right now that it's very possible to film these short films from the comfort of our home. So I think right now, looking at my lockdown romance, it's really setting the bar for home movies and showing us that it's really possible to come up with something really nice despite the circumstances given. So that being said, hello to my Isape head, Migoy Arroyo. I see you. If you have questions, right now is the perfect time to ask. All right. So, anyway, so Derek, we know that you're from LFC also. So, what was your committee? How was LFC like in your time?
Back in the day, I was LFC batch. Well, 2000. It was my first and only active org during that time. I became 2003, no, 2002 to 2003, I guess. I was president. I became LFC president, and I was in the production committee. So when I joined my batchmates in LFC were Jam Jimenez, Dan Villegas, Mick Vergara. So we were the batchmates in LFC. And as president, during that time, we already had, syempre, my highlight in LFC is always the AVO, Ateneo Video Open. So, so we'd always feel excited about getting all those entries from other schools and having it judged. And of course, we'd organize all these little film festivals, right? We'd
Yes.
have it monthly, and yeah, basically those were my LFC memories. We'd hang out a lot in before sa ano pa siya eh, sa Gonzaga building,
Oh,
where there
the
were a lot
third
of
floor?
third floor, yeah, the third
Third floor.
where there's urban legends na ano, 'di ba?
Of course.
Na you can end up just going upstairs and on a spiral dun sa staircase at hindi ka makakapunta dun sa floor na pupuntahan mo.
Yes.
Pero anyway, that's Gonzaga for you. Kasama namin yung Tanghalang Ateneo and CADS or we'd hang out there. And it was pretty fun. And actually, even the best thing about LFC is even outside of the org, you get to meet friends where we actually just produced our own short films and we actually
So
showed
true.
it in school, yeah. And
So
basically,
any,
yeah.
any favorite like top favorite like LFC moment that like always stays with you when you think about LFC?
Ano talaga eh, AV talaga eh, Ateneo Video Open talaga eh.
It really is.
That's the most fun for us. And ayun, being the production team is getting to meet the production members and getting to create our own short films and projects back in college. Of course, we do ewan ko sa'yo, pero the favorite part there is also organizing the film fest. LFC was the first film fest, the film organization to bring the erotic film festival to the school. So yeah, we still do that.
That's nice.
Which film festival is this? Because AVO is the film festival we're trying to bring back, and the
Yeah.
rest are screenings and UTS Under the Stars, which is more rom-com.
Oh yeah. But,
Yeah.
but kami kasi we have parang before we have film festivals na it's actually small screenings of different themes every month. So some months there's family film festival, Christmas film festival, and erotic film festival. Before kasi that was one of the revolutionary things that LFC brought kasi parang it adds to the flavor and it adds content and parang hindi tabu before na ipalabas yung mga ganitong klaseng films. And then you have this org that brings you these films na okay, it's of a different theme, it's of a touchy theme, pero you see quality movies that you don't actually see elsewhere.
Yes,
should
it
bring
definitely
that back.
started a lot of conversations. So, moving back to My Lockdown Romance, we had the very well-loved actors Jameson Blake and Jao Constancia and theater actress Gab Pangilinan. So, how did you go about casting for this movie, and how was the process in choosing the actors?
So, in this aspect kasi there's a lot of things to consider, right? Like you're doing a movie, sino yung babagay sa role and sino yung papanoorin, sino din yung papanoorin. So with these factors considered, they still went through auditions. Kasi parang ako, I'd still if I don't see you yet as fitting the role, I need to see you. I need to see you play a portion of the script and embody the character. So Jameson, I was actually thinking of Jameson before pa, and then he did one screen test with me. He had to go back 3 times after screening several people. And it's also so hard because we think of people na possible, pwede si ganito, pwede sa ganyan. But then they would actually not accept the role because it's a touchy role. Like parang I don't want to be identified with this type of character, or maybe I do but not in my branding as of now. Because some actors would have that.
So,
And then,
so is typecasting like a very major role you find yourself with dealing with actors?
that's the challenging part sometimes because of course some actors would actually just want to take care of their image or want to line themselves up to other types of projects. So they're not really too confident if they can pull that off, or if they're actually confident enough to appear in this kind of movie. But then we have actors like Jameson and Joao who see the story, read the story, and say, "Okay, I wanna try this out, and I think this is something that this is a role that I can empathize with," and given the right guidance and direction, I'll take this. So I met Joao through a recommendation. Also, we had to go through auditions. Also, they had to switch roles at some point. One played the role of Kendrick, one played the role of Tom, to see if baka mas bagay sa kanila. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, we just decided, okay, I think you fit Kendrick, I think you fit Tom, and I could actually see it the way Jameson did his audition, where he just said his lines and acted with his eyes, and you see all the emotions in his eyes. And he doesn't have to project himself too much. He was the character when he was playing it. And Joao had this certain personality that okay, this is how I imagine Kendrick to be. And it's easy because he has this certain vibe of Kendrick already in him that I just need to do little adjustments with when it comes to actually executing the scenes.
That's right. Seeing how both of them were on Zoom that night, it actually felt like they were their characters and that you were seeing them just a little exaggerated. And what impressed me also was how they managed to have amazing chemistry even though they weren't in the same room. Like, we know that they're in completely different spaces, but they managed to make you feel like you were part of their conversation and that they really were high school classmates, which I really enjoyed seeing. Like, it all contributed to the overall vibe of the film.
It was so great because I had these two actors who actually empathized with the character and embodied the character. When they did it, they studied the scenes. They like for Jameson, he remembered his friends that he's really close to. He remembered like understanding that feeling of love, of loneliness, of loneliness, and of hoping of getting loved, of being ghosted, which I think he was undergoing through during that time, or he had that same experience already, because he said, I know what to do, I know the feeling. So now I didn't have to give him much guidance. I just said what his motivation and his goals are as a character, and he embodied the persona. And with Joao, at first he was struggling a bit during the first parts of our shoot, and then when I had a one-on-one with him, I said, okay, so you're talking to him like your buddies, right? Like your friends, pare, ganyan. But I need to see a spark. We need a little spark when you talk to each other, like you really care about him. And he just thought for a bit. Okay, what's wrong? And then suddenly it's like there was a light bulb. He just told me, okay, Direct, I know now. Maybe I think I should talk to him like he's someone I want to have a future with. And that's the only thing he said. And he said, okay, I think that's it. I think that's it. And that's how you talk to him. And the rest of the shoot, he actually pulled it off really well.
So, would you say like only that would be like the hard part with the chemistry, like that initial part? Because yeah, I understand like when it's online, it's harder to crack that chemistry because it's easier to meet up with people, right, and have that sort of like chemistry with the whole cast.
Right, right. So that's the difficult part, but at the same time, my explanation to them was okay, it's the lockdown and you start meeting your friends online, but hey, do you know that there are some things that we open up online that we cannot actually open up in actual physical meets, like. Like sometimes I don't know if you guys feel that, right? Like sometimes when you have a crush or when you really like someone, you find yourself actually opening up more in Instagram messages, in chat,
Yeah.
and then
Replying to stories.
replying to stories, liking, hearting, and then when you actually see each other bump into each other in Starbucks or in a cafe, suddenly go all mom and hi.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
So
Like
it's
you
that.
have these
So yeah,
like you have these paragraph conversations online and then in real life you don't know what to say. It's awkward.
yeah, because like on online you can manage to think about what you want to say and how you want to be careful about what you want to say, but still have these little flirty lines in between. But
For sure.
but at the moment you're face to face, you're like, hey.
Yeah, it just goes blank. Yeah.
Yeah, it just goes back. That's what we put to our advantage. Like, okay, use the screen, use this separation to your advantage. So and I think that's how they managed to pull it off. Plus their imaginations as artists actually. So props to them for that.
Of course, I'm sure that played a really big role. Now, from the comments, Luz Viminda Vicedo said amen. So I think all of the quarantine conversation story replies things really resonated with a lot of people.
Very relatable.
So keep the comments coming, everyone. We'd really love to see more of your input. So, anyway, you mentioned a while ago that you usually do a lot of horror movies. So, what draws you to the horror genre?
I don't know, cause I like twisted stories. I like twisted stories, and I really like the roller coaster feel of watching a movie and you know and it's scaring yourself. Only to realize that after, hey, it's a movie. It's okay. It's done. Then
What are some of your favorite horror movies?
I'm sorry.
What are some of your favorite horror movies?
Oh, a lot. I have varied tastes actually, but some of the well, especially since I did my lockdown romance actually because I'm actually fascinated with the found footage type of genre. Like so, one of my favorite movies from back in college was the Blair Witch Project.
Ah, okay, yeah.
So it's found footage type na camera operated, and the funny thing about that is they marketed it before as if it was real, it was actual. It was a true to life event, and then they revealed the actors way after the movie was shown. So I found myself believing in that story during that time, and of course movies like The Shining, lately Hereditary. I love Hereditary.
Hereditary, yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. And at the same time, well, you have that Hereditary, which is really scary, and then these horror movies that can go campy, like from the same director, Midsummer. So I like that. From
Would you say you like? What would you say is better for you, Hereditary or Midsummer?
iba eh, magkaiba siya eh, kasi like Hereditary, I was in there like for the scare. And when I saw Midsummer, it was so twisted, it was so wild, but I was actually also enjoying it as a comedy. Like,
Yes.
Comedy?
I also found myself laughing in certain parts.
yeah,
It
and
was just twisted.
and some people were jarred like watching that movie, like they were saying ano ba to, horror ba tong pinanood ko. but but me, when I was watching it, I was enjoying it because I felt that the comical portions, the hilarious portions were intentional. were intentional. So it has a certain campiness, like kasi sometimes there's a fine line between horror and comedy, right?
Really?
And like kasi
Certain
diba, parang
parts.
kasi what makes you uncomfortable sometimes makes you feel, sometimes makes you laugh, or sometimes makes you scared.
I
So
would see that same thing with Us. Like I noticed there was a part there that I would find, like I think there's a part there where they're attacking the couple to F the police by NW.
yeah,
And it just doesn't show that scary part in my
yeah,
opinion.
but his tawag doon, movies are ano eh, 'di ba? Parang has some campy elements palagi eh. Like even Get Out. Even Get Out, there's some
Some
funny
moments, yeah.
portions. So I enjoy the campiness of horror movies as well. Well, I guess unintentionally my horror movies has some campy elements as well, na may mga portions na natatawa din yung mga tao. But but then the thing is, some people will feel off about it, na horror pa ba pinapanood ko. But for me it's enjoyable kasi nga parang feeling ko minsan nagme-mesh ang horror at ang comedy.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see that though.
Yeah.
So this
Ayun,
brings.
so go
So
ahead.
which is the scarier ghost? These horror movie spirit jump scare ghosts, or these ghosts that we have online that just manage to disappear?
The ghosts of your love life, ganyan.
The ghosts of Facebook, which is scarier?
Oh,
Mas scarier yung ghosts of Facebook kasi sometimes you believe they'll stay. Pero
Ouch.
masasaktan ka lang.
ouch.
I'm sure we're going to see another amen for that. So please, audience, which type of ghost do you find scarier? We'd like to know. Please include it in the comments.
Put it there.
Pero sometimes, di ba, you find out that you were ghosted possibly for a reason pala.
That's the best way to look at it always.
That's the best way to look at it. Get hurt first, but then eventually thank that ghost because you found something better for yourself. Maybe not someone, but something better for yourself.
Yeah.
That's right. That's a very optimistic way of approaching, actually.
Pero magalit ka sa kanya sa umpisa, okay? All your feelings are valid.
Stages of grief.
Uh,
I think Jameson actually portrayed all of those stages in the movie.
yeah. He portrayed it really well, and he was telling me actually na he knows how it feels, and that's why he actually was able to give us those feelings very realistically.
I was actually wondering, in the movie, there's a part where Kendrick does get COVID from getting groceries. Was that inspired by someone that maybe you knew, or maybe an event that you know happened?
Not in a love story, not in a love story sense, but like I've heard of like I have some relatives who actually just got COVID, who just went to the grocery and was trying to be safe anyway, and then one day ayun na lang, meron na lang siya, and it's a truth that we experience right now, na minsan kahit maingat tayo, it's a reality that we're facing now.
That's true.
And I guess that's the most touching part for me in the movie. Like despite having this separation, we still find ways to actually be there for the people we love.
That's true. We try to find ways to be together even when we're apart. That's been
Yeah.
what we've been trying to do this quarantine. And actually for me, that also kind of showed me and a lot of people who watched it how real and how scary COVID could be, because like no matter how careful you are, it it finds ways. Like we see Kendrick wearing the mask, the face shield, and still he managed to contract it.
Yeah. It's a very interesting virus that like no one can really explain, right? But well, thank God you guys are safe right now. But just be careful. Just be careful later then.
Of course.
Would you have any advice for any aspiring filmmakers, especially during this quarantine season now?
Well, I guess right now we know that there's a quarantine period, but for aspiring filmmakers, I guess put together a group that you trust to do projects, to do even these types of quarantine projects na sige sabihin natin na okay, ang dami nang gumagawa, gawin nyo pa rin. Gawa pa rin kayo, and the most important thing is have a story, have a sincere story, a story that you trust. Maybe it's well, sabi nga palagi sa amin, our mentor in Star Cinema is Inang Olive Damasan. And she always advises us to write from your heart and don't be afraid to write about your personal truth. And because that's what will make your film honest and beautiful. So just go write and make sure that you have a solid story, and a story that you can actually be proud of. Relatable, sana. So that despite the circumstances, despite the budget constraints, equipment constraints, as long as you have a solid story and good acting, and very what do you call this? Very capable actors to portray your story, then you'd have people to watch your projects, and people to actually believe in what you have for them.
That's something we can all remember now, especially since we are all doing our best to try to make films from home. So
Yeah, and don't be afraid to to reach out to people na who have done things like what you have done before, and ask about like technicalities, and how did you pull this off? What's your advice? Anong hindi namin dapat gawin? And I think naman everyone will be generous enough to help you out.
I think that's something we all need to remember, because like our generation especially, we have a tendency to be afraid to ask. So it's nice to know that people are open to asking.
Di ba? Parang we already have University of YouTube and University of Google. So everyone's just looking for themselves kung paano nila gagawin to. But then at the same time, baka may easier advice pa when we just message someone. So, ayun nga, so, like some people will message us, meron ba kayo advice, or pwede bang mag-talk kayo dito? We have some questions. So, we're all pretty open to give siguro tell you about our learnings naman that we can share.
Of course. And now more than ever, we see the value of how getting advice or learning something firsthand, or a face-to-face conversation, means so much more. Like, it's really different from watching a video on YouTube by someone you don't know. Like, there's the personal touch makes a lot of difference.
Yeah. And as we saw in this in the project that we did, like the actors were operating the cameras on their own, the lighting on their own. But then at the same time, so while Pong Ignacio, our cinematographer, director of photography, while Pong was guiding them throughout the setups, they were saying na, wow, so ganito pala gawin, and they were learning the technicalities of the production. And even as actors, they started to get they started to have this appreciation for the production team. Na usually they just take for granted when they go to the set, and then they go to their break room to memorize their lines. Now they know how.
Take a while for them to learn about this process, the actors.
Actually, kasi what we did was we did our own research muna before doing the workshops with the actors. We tried to get cameras that are very user friendly. So we used these GoPro type of cameras. Um, it's called the Osmo Action Cam. So the settings are simple enough that can be na para pwedeng i-guide sila ng director of photography for habang sineset up nila. So we just had like one workshop, one technical workshop the night before the shoot, and then the rest we did on the fly na. Now when they have to set up, we guided them first before the take.
Everyone really had to branch out of their comfort zones for this.
Yeah, everyone did because they didn't only do the technicals, they actually had to put together the scenes themselves with the props and all. If you see my Facebook or my Instagram, you'd see some bloopers there where they would actually
Yes.
set up their props and stuff. So, ayun, full appreciation for everyone ang nangyari. Like, the actors appreciating the production team appreciating the actors and their patience, and what everyone else does.
That's a
That
good
seems like
realization.
seems like
to
they
go.
learned a lot.
Yeah.
That's
You
a
guys
good
should try it.
realization also. Actually, before we used to do these shows in the booth and we would prepare what to talk about, but when it came to the show, we would sit down and then talk. But then now like we're doing this from home, so kind of similar. Like now we have to be in charge of our own audio, our own lights, and then
Oh,
setting
yeah.
up our own Zoom.
And it does
So-
have some problems from time to time.
Oh.
Exactly. When someone
Plus,
gets
like,
kicked out of the chat, the winging it is different.
Yeah,
diba? And internet lag is real. So,
it is.
yeah.
Audio problems too.
Were the actors in their own houses or did you book them in like hotels or rent out spaces for them to be in?
So, generally, we all were in our own houses. The actors, yes, Joao was in his own place. Gab was in her parents' place. Jameson actually lives outside of Metro Manila.
Oh.
So what we did was we had to book him to a different place in Makati so that he could be accessible in case we need to send equipment and stuff. So he was the only one where we had to rent out a location for.
So as for designs of their rooms and their houses, did you send them like furniture, props? Like how much did they have to dress up or dress down their rooms? I'm just really curious.
Yeah, so there was one day where the art department, well, not really art department, there was like our production designer because we have to work with a skeletal crew. JC Katigay, one person, he would go to their houses to do the initial setup. But then there was a prop box, so eto yung mga prop ins for this certain sequence, nakalistat yan. Even the wardrobe, everything was listed and tagged and labeled. So there was a whole kit sent to the actors. So after the initial setup, then you're on your own. Jameson, we had to help because he had the most setups for his scenes.
Yes.
So we had one person in his place helping him set up some scenes, but the rest it was up to him because sometimes he was alone. So yeah, initial setup helped by one person, and then the rest of the when they have to fix it, when they have to revise some stuff, it was all up to the actors already.
So
Wow.
did you guys have like a strict? You guys didn't have a strict color palette to follow for like set design or like the background.
Yeah, mostly si Jameson for our wardrobe for production designer, they presented that Jameson was he had the pastel colors. He had the because he was a more he was a softer character between the two guys, right? He was a softer character. Light color, he light-hearted life. And then Kendrick was like a palette of the ocean. Palette of the ocean. He was this guy from Hawaii, but at the
Yes.
same time,
Surfer vibe, yeah.
surfer vibe, a lot of good vibes, a lot of happy energy, and what I say, he was a pretty smooth, fluid guy, and that's what inspired the ocean themed palette for him. And then si Gab, well, si Gab was the loud character.
Yes,
Gab was-
the girl was very colorful.
yeah, so even that me, myself, and I portraits sa likod niya sa kwarto. So that was decided on by a production designer, JC, and she's a type of nasa bahay lang, magsasamgyupsal ako sa bahay.
Yes, and her milk tea.
That complete set. Yeah, so that was the thought process of the production designer. And like there was something in Tom's house that even though he had these soft dainty lights behind him, there was also something in Tom's house that felt empty. Like he had this because Tom, despite his life he was the one who was feeling empty, and then Kendrick filled it up for him.
Wow. Even the littlest things make all the difference in their backgrounds also, and of course to set up the character. So
We have those, and I think the fun part was doing the VFX, the visual effects. So
Was that a hard thing to accomplish?
It was a headache actually. Kasi syempre, if you do VFX, our initial reaction is okay, we'll do it After Effects, di ba? But kasi for me it's important to for Tom's typing to have emotion. So when you're doing it, it's important na kapag nagta-type siya, yung bagal or yung bilis or yung sudden delete ng mga letters, it has to feel real for me. So it won't work if it's just created. So we have to do screen recordings. You have to do some screen recordings like I would act as Tom where I would type his words, and then so na doon syempre I have to feel na okay paano kapag kinakabahan. Well, if I'm nervous, I have to delete some stuff, I have to miswrite some stuff. And after nun, I would submit it to the VFX guys. They would clean it up, clean the resolution, and then alter the dates, because of course it was it's a period piece na ngayon eh. so I'll alter the dates, take out some logos, and then when we review and keep on reviewing it, we find that okay, there's still a wrong date here. Okay, there's still a logo here. We have to delete that. So there was a lot of back and forth between the VFX and us and me. And I'm glad I had a very patient team who was actually very willing to do all the revisions that was necessary.
It seems like you guys had a really good chemistry and a really good work environment. Like, it doesn't seem that stressful.
We were a happy set. That's an important thing. Just have a fun crew with you. Wala namang initan ng ulo nangyari, and I'm so happy that the actors were also patient na okay, ayusin mo lahat yan. Okay, sige, tayo. Okay, game ka na, and at the end of the day, the only sad part is we have no cast party after. Parang after, okay, we're done, it's a wrap. Okay, just we were nagpadala ako ng drink sa kanila, and okay, just one toast, cheers, tapos leave Zoom meeting, tapos na. So parang bitin yung feeling. Ayun.
yes, but after quarantine, would it be a possibility for everyone to get back together and celebrate the success?
Hopefully, the good thing is Christmas is coming. So, hopefully magkaroon ng time na magkaroon ng konting Christmas get-together, Christmas party. Let's see. Our quarantine is all the way until December, but
Hopefully not.
yeah, we'll see. Maybe we can just have a small gathering with some social distancing.
So that being said, what are you looking forward to most after quarantine? When all of this is over, whenever that may be.
Go out without restrictions, right? Well, of course. Actually, not only when the quarantine ends, right? But like when there's an actual vaccine for this for this virus. When everything's okay, na parang okay, we all need a hug. We all need to hug someone, right?
Need that human contact.
Yung, okay, sige, let's hug each other na hindi natin kailangan tumingin sa likod kung may magja-judge. Okay, hindi tayo matatakot na pag-hug natin, kailangan ko bang mag-alcohol pagkatapos? Sana dumating yung time na yun na we can celebrate our success, we can celebrate what we've done, and we can do more projects without having to tire our nostrils too much with all those with
The
all those
swab
COVID,
test.
all those swab tests.
Yeah.
Ang dami kong kilala na lumalagari sa shoots ngayon na parang sawang-sawa na sa kakaswab na kailangan, di ba? So those are the things na we look forward to, and ayun nga, and I do look forward to na sana bumalik na yung time na papasok na mga tao sa sinehan. And it's a different experience bringing your friends together, watching a movie, having your movie shown in a large room with several people enjoying it, reacting all at the same time.
Of course, we actually ask all our guests this, but before we wrap up, what do you miss most about cinemas?
About cinemas, yeah, it's the feeling of community, of having to share an experience together. Like kasi it's so different watching something online, and even if you have your friends watching in their own houses online,
It's not the same.
it's so yeah, it's not the same. It's always it's the spirit of community that we enjoy in cinema, na parang yung energy ang daling ma-transfer, maiyak ako, naiyak ka na rin, matawa ako, natawa ka na rin. Mas electric eh. And that's something that we all miss. Yung feeling of community, yung bonding ng mga tao kapag nagkakasama-sama tayo that way.
For sure. So, Direct Bobby, once again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for
Thank
spending your
you.
Wednesday afternoon with us.
Thank you guys. And thank you for keeping LFC alive and full of energy. Mahal namin ang Loyola Film Circle.
We hope to see you back at our LFC event.
Yes, please.
Of course.
Or even come back on the show maybe another time.
Next
Okay.
movie.
Thank you. Anytime.
So, Direct, before we end, any message to the audience? Anything you want to plug?
Well, of course, pinag-uusapan na nga natin, di ba? Please, showing pa rin ang my lockdown romance. It's a love story, it's a coming of age story, it's a story about friendship at ang mga nangyayari sa atin ngayong lockdown. Everyone can relate to it, I promise. No matter what status you are in life, single, heartbroken, fulfilled life, you can relate to it. It's available sa streaming site na ktx.ph, and I Want TFC. You can stream it for rent at 150 pesos. It's also available on Sky Pay-Per-View and Signal Pay-Per-View, powered by Cine Express, of course produced by Star Cinema. So, may lockdown romance. Please check it out. Maganda siya. Hindi dahil ako ang gumawa.
As
Oh,
an
we can vouch
audience
for it.
member, yes, we can vouch for it. So to our audience, once again, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been Clapback, and once again, we are live on Facebook, we are live on YouTube, and now Twitter via Periscope. You can see this all on the Radio Katipunan Facebook page, YouTube page, or 87.9 FM. Once again, this has been Direct Bobby Bonifacio Jr. Catch My Lockdown Romance on Sky Cable Pay-Per-View, KTX, and TFC.TV. You can hold him to this promise. It's enjoyable. And if you've been in
is.
quarantine with the rest of the Philippines the past few months, you will find at least one thing to relate to. Something will resonate with you no matter where you are in life. So please go see it. Once again, Direct Bobby, we can't thank you enough for joining us today. Thank you. Thank you so much. And of course, to our audience, thank you for tuning in and joining the conversation. So once again, I'm Max, and when it comes to films, I serve the facts.
And I'm Austin. Some people say I'm chill, just here to keep it real and serve you your daily movie fill.
And this has been Clapback. We hope to see you again soon.
Bye.
Okay, we're almost off.
Cut! Good take! Want to hear our take on all your favorite filmy things? Tune in to Clapback, the radio show for film critics, production news, pop culture, and social commentary, serving as a place for our voice in our cinematic universe. Hosted by the Loyola Film Circle, Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Only here on Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM. Action!